Good evening, good evening. Welcome, ladies, and all of you that are viewing from around the world. It's the Wives Matter Network, and I am your host, the CEO and founder of this amazing network for wives and wives. I'm Andrea Hudson. Oh, it's been a day. It's been a day. Welcome, everyone, to the Wives Matter Network. I'm Pastor Andrea Hudson, your CEO and founder. I'm glad to be with everyone tonight. If you are joining in from Facebook, this is what I want you to do. I want you to share and repost. Share and repost. And also, I want you to comment in the section where you are watching from. Go ahead and do that now. Go ahead in the comment section and tell me where you are from, what city you're watching from, what state you're watching from, and share and repost. Tonight's discussion is going to be a great one. It is going to be informative. It is going to be therapeutic. So we want you all to begin to engage now. Tell me what city and state you're from, and then go ahead and share and repost tonight's discussion. All right. I see Joliet. Welcome. I see Champagne. Welcome. Come on, ladies. Come on in. Begin to share and repost, share and repost, share and repost. And let's go ahead and comment in the section what city and state that you are watching from. It is Monday night, and sometimes Mondays be mundane, if you know what I'm talking about. But we are so grateful to be alive. We're so grateful to be in the land of the living. And certainly we know that it's going to be a fantastic week. I see someone is watching from Chicago. All right, come on, let's keep sharing. Let's keep reposting and tell us what city and state you are watching from. So tonight's discussion, as I stated before, is going to be a very good one. We're talking about therapy. In fact, tonight's discussion is called the therapist couch. Now, if you're watching and you're viewing tonight's discussion on Facebook Live or YouTube, and you happen to be sitting or resting on your couch, hey, you're in great company, because tonight we're talking about therapy. We're talking about therapy. We're talking about the benefits of therapy. We're talking about the stigma of therapy, especially as it pertains to the Black community. We're talking about women and mental health. And I do believe that according to the word of God, it tells us that God wants us whole. He wants us whole spirit, soul, and body. And so that includes being whole physically. You know, if we're not feeling well physically, we know that we can go to the drugstore and buy some medicine over the counter, or we go and see our doctor. We go and see our doctor. The same for mental health and emotional health. So why is it for decades that mental health has had such a bad stigma? We're going to talk about that tonight, and we're going to talk about the rewards of, seeking help mentally and emotionally when you feel the need to, especially not waiting. You don't wait till you feel completely bad to go see the doctor. At least I hope you don't. When you're feeling that pain, when that pain keeps reoccurring, when you keep getting those symptoms, then you know to pick up the phone and call your doctor. The same with our mental and emotional health. God wants us whole, soul, spirit, and body. So again, if you're watching, I want you to comment in the section where you are watching from, and I want you to share and repost tonight's discussion. Tonight's discussion is going to free a lot of women. I made this post earlier, and I'm going to, say this and go right into our discussion, and we're going to introduce our therapist on tonight. I made this discussion earlier that at the core of our relationships as women, the common denominator is us. Okay, I see people are coming. Yeah, wonderful. Chicago is coming in. At the core of every relationship, the nucleus of every relationship is you. So, with that being said, if you are finding yourself having lopsided relationships, you find yourself involved in toxicity, you find yourself involved in relationships that are dysfunctional, then you must take a step back and see, am I the cause of it? That's deep. That's a lot for us to think about and meditate before we even get started in talking to our therapist on tonight. Remember, ladies, at the core of every relationship, you are the nucleus, the common denominator. Yes, you are. So how do we embrace whole marriages, whole relationships, whole friendships? We ourselves as women, we must become whole first. And that's mentally and emotionally. We must be healed, both spirit, soul, and body. I see someone is watching from Los Angeles. Woo! I'm going to be coming there in November. I'll give you guys more information about that. We're going to be coming to Los Angeles in November. I see someone is watching from St. Louis, North Carolina. Come on in, guys. This is amazing. Remember, share and repost, share and repost. Let's get the word out so that our women of color will be blessed on tonight. All right, I have said enough, and I'm going to introduce our amazing therapists on this evening. I want to take the time to say thank you to them. These ladies are very busy. They're entrepreneurs, they're licensed therapists, they're philanthropists, they're leaders, but they took time out of their Monday evening schedules. In fact, one of our therapists just finished having a session with someone. And so I can only imagine what their days and their weeks look like. But I'm so grateful that they took the time out of their schedules to join me on this subject so that they can help you. All right. Our first guest is Tawana Trammell. And I hope I'm saying her last name correctly. She is a devoted wife and mother, as well as a loving daughter, sister, and friend. She has a master's degree in business management, social work, and educational leadership and administration. Tawana is passionate about mental health and utilizes her voice to help annihilate the stigmas associated with it. She has worked in social service for 30 years. She is the founder of TLK Empowerment Services, PLLC. She is a licensed clinical therapist, author, and mental health speaker. She currently hosts a mid-year mental health checkup workshop. She believes that our mental health is as important as our physical health and encourages others to seek as needed professional treatment. Let us welcome tonight our first guest, Tawana
Trammell.
Welcome, Tawana.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Tawana, you've been doing this a long time.
Yes.
And you definitely have to have a passion for this, like any
yes,
other.
You do.
Yes.
It's a ministry.
There you go. Keyword, it's a ministry. And I truly believe tonight that we're going to do some effective ministry. Ministry is just not always in the four walls of a church.
Amen.
And I know you can attest to that because you minister to men and women daily. Yes, and so we are going to be doing that tonight through Facebook Live, YouTube. We're reaching these different states and even more as those come in to watch the replay in the days to come. So we're so grateful, Tawana, that you're joining us tonight.
Thank you.
All right, our next guest is Lena Chapman. She is a licensed professional counselor in the state of Missouri. She is the owner of Haven of Light Christian Counseling and Haven of Light Wellness Center. She has played many roles within the mental health space and is a leading expert in the field. Lena loves to support people through counseling. However, she understands that mental health goes beyond the therapy session. Her passion for mental health has led her to educate others through impactful training trainings and workshops that she conducts across the country with the purpose of educating the African American community about the mind. Lena's goal is to eliminate the stigma about counseling in the African American community so everyone can have the freedom to live whole. She strongly believes that once the stigma is eliminated, the African American community will be able to openly receive the support needed to address the mental pain that hinders many from fulfilling true purpose in life. Let us welcome Lena Chapman.
Hello, everyone. How are we doing this afternoon, this evening?
Thank you, Lena, for joining us. Lena is from St. Louis, so yes. I see some St. Louis viewers that are on tonight. I'm sure
yes.
they're from you. Absolutely, absolutely. Tawana, you are from Illinois, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Awesome. And then let's go and introduce our last guest and therapist. Now, she currently lives in Los Angeles, but she is from Chicago. Wow. And we're so excited to have her. Dr. Lakeisha Ross McGee. With over 20 years of clinical experience in therapy, life coaching, and education, she is dedicated to the enhancement and development of the complete person, serving as CEO of Heal Hers Foundation. Dr. McGee believes in intentional healing, community restoration, and breast cancer advocacy. Her own journey began on November 7th, 2018, when she was diagnosed with stage 2A, grade 7 breast cancer diagnosis. She saw the challenges that African American women face while dealing with the diagnosis and treatment of breast cancer. She committed herself to helping others on their journey to create a new normal by collaborating and creating lasting partnership that assist survivors. Dr. McGee holds a BSW from Southern Illinois University in Carbondale, an MSW from Aurora University, an MED from Lewis University, and a PhD from Concordia University. Yeah. Let us welcome Dr. Lakeisha Ross McGee.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes, you know, definitely. I was reading your bio and I saw some similarities between myself and you. And in 2018, I too was diagnosed with breast cancer. And so it has now been 5 years of breast cancer healed. No trace and in full remission. So I'm grateful to God that the same is for you as well.
Amen.
Absolutely.
Yes. Amen. You got one of your degrees from one of the college that I graduated from, Lewis University.
Okay.
Yes. A lot of similarities.
Yes. Thank God.
Ladies,
I'm telling you.
Are you all ready to help the women tonight?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, let's go. Ladies that are watching, again, we want you to share and repost. We want you to be engaged in tonight's discussion. And if we have time, which I truly believe that we will, we're going to allow you all to ask your questions from our therapist on tonight. So again, we need you to share and repost. Share this live with someone. Share this live with a woman, a best friend. Come on, let's share. Let's continue to get the word out. We're talking about women and mental health, women and therapy on tonight. So ladies, I saw this quote on yesterday from Taraji P. Henson, our actress that has played in so many different movies. But this is something that she said that just really kind of struck me for us to open up with as our opening discussion. She said, first of all, it is entirely impossible for any human to always be strong. I'm always apprehensive of the term strong Black woman because it dehumanizes us and makes it seem like we don't hurt. So for our opening discussion, let us talk about, have we succumbed to stereotypes and stigmas that are not realistic? And if so, how do we break free from them? Tawana, I'll let you start first.
Okay. I believe we have succumbed to the stereotypes. And I think as a result, there's a population of women that's trying to live and hold up those stereotypes of just being a strong Black woman, independent. I don't need no one else. As long as I got King Jesus, I'm all right. And those type of things. And I think it causes them to struggle in their mental health, in their zeal for life, in their commitments, in their relationships, because no one can be everything to everybody. It's impossible. And I understand when she says it dehumanizes us because it doesn't give us the opportunity to say, I'm weak. I need help. I don't know how to deal with this. And as a result, as women, we carry a lot of that baggage, those stigmas, those stereotypes internally. And then we have to live with ourselves and we never get help for it because we feel like it's what we should do.
Ooh, this is good already. Lena, where did this stem from? This strong Black woman terminology, superwoman. I mean, where did it come from?
I'm going to be honest with you. I can possibly pinpoint it back to slavery. That's just where I feel like it has started. And I feel like it because, once the things that African Americans have gone through during slavery for 200 plus years, because yes, after we were free, there were still things that we were going through. We had the mentality that it is time to survive. I have to survive. I have to survive instead of live. And so when you're in survival mode all the time, consistently, you do not give yourself the opportunity to live and enjoy. You are consistently trying to reach these just crazy goals that we've put on ourselves, or we're comparing each other. That person's doing that, so I need to do that. That person's doing that, so I need to do that. And then we kind of figure out in a space, or we kind of wonder why we're depressed. And we always feel like we're failing, but we never recognize what we're actually doing and what we're accomplishing. So I really feel like that survival mode mentality that we have passed down from generation to generation, where Big Mama, we never saw Big Mama cry. Big Mama just kept going. And then, and I never seen my mom cry. I never seen my aunties cry. I just see them go through it and keep going. But were they actually living life? Were they enjoying life, or were they just surviving through it? And I also think it's like a church mentality too.
Yes.
I just got to keep on until the rapture comes.
Yes.
The end's going, whenever the end's going to be. And it's just okay. But while we're here, can we enjoy? Can we sit and say, I am actually living my life? I'm not just existing, but I'm living. And so I really do feel like that has started since slavery. That's where I can pinpoint it from. And it's just been passed down from generation to generation. Survive, survive, survive. It is time to live.
And you said something so very important about that survival mentality. And I actually learned this from a therapist that's a member of our congregation, that survival mode is never meant to be long-term.
Yes.
That's good.
And that, when you get stuck in survival mode, it can be dangerous.
Yes.
Because at what point do you actually break free and actually live?
Yes.
So some of our women of color that, feel like they've got to portray this strong Black woman image, you could possibly still be stuck in survival mode.
And can I add something to
that? Yes.
I think also that sometimes we're so used to chaos and toxicity that we don't know how to live without it.
Yeah.
So that's part of feeding that survival mode mentality. And when we're in survival mode, remember our bodies feel that pressure, that feels that strain in our bodies. So we are consistently producing a stress hormone called cortisol. And that also plays a part in our illnesses and, alopecia and things like that. And so survival mode is not just I'm getting to the next level. I got to keep going. But it's also affecting us physically, our physical bodies. It puts strain on it.
Dr. Lakeisha, I want you to jump in because we've identified that this strong Black woman is not realistic. It could be possibly doing more harm than good. So how do we, as women of color, how do we break free from this?
So, this is definitely a subject that hits us hard. We get slammed for this all the time. We see this in our younger generation as well. The young women now, they have taken this whole mentality of being a strong woman or Wonder Woman to a whole different level. And I don't even really think they understand that what they portray is not realistic, and it's doing more harm than it could honestly be doing to help our young folks. So we have to learn how to start sharing, which we're doing a great job now. We have to share, we have to encourage, we have to motivate, we have to allow ourselves to be vulnerable with other women and say, hey, this is not the right way. There's a better way to doing this and to get the results that you really want. A lot of times that strong mentality is just a mask for being insecure. It's a mask for saying, hey, this is the cards that I've been dealt and this is what I have to deal with, but this is not really what I want.
Yeah.
Women say all the time, like she said, I could do this on my own. That every woman wants a good husband to take care of them, to love them, love them properly, and not take care of them just financially. When I say take care of, I mean make sure you're secure, you're safe. Every woman wants that. But, we have this cape on because this is what society has told us we're supposed to do. And it's not accurate. It's not. And so, it's.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
No, just as women, we have to start really being honest. I heard Lena say, Big Mama say it, and that is so true. Back in the day, it was what happens in our house stays in our house. What happens in your marriage, girl, it's okay. Just go home and deal with it. But there was never any talk about really being self-care and really, let's deal with this. And you don't have to be strong all the time. Let's talk about this. A lot of times, mothers didn't talk to their daughters, didn't really tell them the real deal back in the day. So women were forced to be strong, put on this cape. But now we know better, and we have to talk to our daughters. We have to encourage other young women and women, period. We have to share, we have to talk, we have to encourage, we have to let them know it's okay to cry today. You don't have to be super with me. It's okay.
This is so amazing because this is one of the reasons why I launched this network, the Wives Matter Network. It was certainly nothing that I was just aiming to do, but the Lord dropped it in my spirit at the end of 2022 to launch this network that would be like a safe haven for women. Marriages, relationships, wives, single women, engaged women, single mothers, divorced, to give this type of empowerment so that we don't have to succumb to these stereotypes, to these stigmas, and we don't have to pass this on to the next generation.
Yes.
One of the reasons why we're talking about this is because it was passed on from previous generations. Yeah. No one really stood up and say, hey, it's okay to feel weak. It's okay to cry. It's okay to ask the Lord why. We were taught, don't question God. Right. God can handle anything.
He already knows
that you have. Yeah. So it's okay for us to rewrite the narrative and pass it down to the next generation. And I do believe that that's our responsibility. So this leads me into our next question. Are there cultural factors within the Black community that influences perceptions and attitudes towards mental health? Lena, I'd like for you to answer that question.
Okay. Are there cultural factors that lead us into the stigma of mental health? I do believe so. Remember, I think it was Dr. McGee said it, that what happens in this house stays in our house. And before then, there was a mistrust of the medical system, period.
Yes.
Correct.
It's not just a mental health thing, but think about medicine, period. Our grandparents were just kind of being comfortable going with doctors, going to see doctors. Our great grandparents did remedies at home, stick your hand in this, drink a cup of this, and that, and you're fine. And it was because it was such a big mistrust with the medical system altogether. Why was it a mistrust? Well, because they were doing some things that were different for African Americans who weren't treating us fair.
Right.
And so this was passed down. And so as we are now going more to checkups and making sure we're getting our mammograms and our, pap smears and things like that, we are doing a better job at that. But now we're introducing something new, our mind. And I think a lot of people fear that their mind isn't okay. And when you tell me my mind isn't okay, what does that mean for me? What does that mean when I wake up? What does that mean? How do I exist if you're telling me that my mind isn't okay? I don't know how to take that and to process that. And so that's what I feel the African American community, I mean, we're coming along. We definitely are, but it's still, we still got some work to do. And that's where it stems from. It's just a medical mistrust. And then it's trickling down into the mental health field.
And you said so much. We're going to try to unpack all of this because growing up, you would hear relatives say, or it'll be very hush hush, that if someone was, and they use the word, and I don't want to offend anyone that's out there, but hear the word crazy, or it was just a very negative connotation. Oh, you don't want to be around them, or it just was very you as a child, you would hear those things, and there you go, fear. It was fear motivated. Fear attached. So you didn't want to end up like them because, I don't want to be like that. I don't want, someone calling me crazy. I don't want someone telling me that what I'm feeling isn't real. All of that, and I believe, happened more prevalent in our community, as Lena, as you stated, because of the mistrust that we have had to deal with because we were treated like guinea pigs.
Yes.
So true.
We were treated like guinea pigs. So of course that innate fear and mistrust has been embedded in us that we now have to work through and work out so that we can know now and pass to the next generation that it's okay to seek help for your mind, just like you're going to seek help for your heart, just like you're going to get your mammogram and we still have a lot of women that not getting their mammograms, not getting their pap smears. That's a whole nother discussion. But just like you have a headache, a physical headache, and you take Tylenol or ibuprofen, if you know that something is not right, you're not feeling right mentally or emotionally, it's okay to say, I need help. Dr. Lakeisha, how can we promote positive mental health?
Well, once again, it's about educating and it's about making it normal. A lot of times we're insecure for a number of reasons, and the fear factor and the fact that we don't want to be looked at as different. We don't want to be looked at as dangerous because mental health is associated with being dangerous sometimes. We have to normalize it. We have to, continue to say, hey, it's okay. I tell my clients all the time, it is okay to take your medication. If your medication is going to make you feel at a safe place, because that's the thing, safety. If your medication makes you feel safe, it makes you feel stable, then why wouldn't you want to take that? Because someone told you, oh, you're crazy if you take medication? No, you're crazy if you don't take the medication. Take your medication. So once again, it's about educating. It's about making people feel safe. It's about continuing to promote that, hey, a healthy mind is just like a healthy body. You go to the doctor when you have a cold. So when you're feeling unstable, you need to go to the doctor as well. Seek professional help. We have to normalize it. That's what it is. Continue to normalize and promote it and say, hey, I'm a therapist and I need a therapist.
Yes.
When I tell clients that, they're like, oh, you do? Yes, I need someone to talk to too, because I'm normal. Normal people, things happen. So I'm normal, and that can, create a place where I need to talk to someone too. I go through grief, through loss, through everyday issues with my family, my children. I am a normal person. So let's normalize mental health.
Oh, audience, are you guys enjoying this? Are you enjoying this? I see so many that are commenting. Someone says, yes, such a stigma and fear around seeking help for mental health. And we've got to discuss all of this and continue to bring light and exposure to this subject, because we're living in a different time now. And we have this big elephant called social media.
Yeah.
That we did not have 30 years ago.
Correct.
That our young people are actively engaged in. And this is, not one of the questions, but I just feel the need that we need to kind of hit this subject. How do we normalize having a healthy mind in the midst of this social media world, especially with our young people? Tawana, I want you to elaborate on that.
Okay. I think one of the things we do is we have to talk to our young people about how social media really isn't a reality. So often I'm telling them the things you see on social media is not true. Anybody can pretend and project whoever they want it to be. And don't take that into heart and begin to comparing yourself, because what they do is they see what their peers are doing on social media and they feel like, I have to live up to that standard. I have to look like them. I have to dress like them. I got to get as many followers, as many likes, and it starts to spiral out of control. And so I see a lot of young people who then become depressed and full of anxiety. And it's all surrounding social media, because Carrie got 100,000 likes and I got 5. So that must mean people don't like me. So they internalize others' responses to what they post on social media. And I think where there's a place for social media, our teens are struggling with the unrealistic expectations that are associated with social media. And we are seeing them full of anxiety. They're depressed. They're getting eating disorders and all kinds of maladaptive behaviors based on what they see on social media.
And not just the teens,
they're committing
too.
suicide.
Yes. Oh, the adults are too. You asked me about the teens.
Yeah, but
the adults can be worse than the teens. Why do we have to post everything we buy? Is it to make other people wish they had our lives? Everything you do in private don't have to become public.
Yes.
And I always tell people, be aware of someone who makes everything public, because usually those are the people who have nothing going on privately. Because if you're busy and you're living your life, as Lena said, and enjoying your existence, you don't have time to spend all day and night posting every picture, every restaurant, every meal, every item you purchase. You don't have time, and you're mature enough to realize it's not necessary.
It's not necessary.
It's not
necessary. Who else would like to comment on this particular subject about social media?
I would like to comment, and the one thing I would like to comment about is that social media knows what it's doing, right? Yeah. And so even now, you are Miss Trammell, you were talking about posting, And so you have people who are now getting paid to post. So now that I'm getting paid to post, I have to post more because and so then it becomes, like you said, a head game that if I'm not posting enough or there's not enough likes, then I start to think there's something wrong with me versus saying maybe the algorithm wasn't popping today or something like that. You begin to take it personally, internalizing it. So then you start to post more. And social media wants all your attention. But I do realize that social media causes lots of anxiety. Lots of anxiety. I have noticed that when people like take breaks from social media, they said my anxiety levels were so low. I didn't feel anxious. I didn't feel a need to. And just even if you don't post anything, you spending time scrolling. It ain't about the post anymore. You scrolling is enough to start developing that anxiety comparison. And when we compare, what do? Now I have to try a little harder. Now you want something that you don't even know why you're trying to achieve that goal other than I have to compete with this person.
And I've noticed that when I take social media breaks, that my head is clearer. Seriously, just from the scrolling, and I give myself time limits now of how long I'm going to be on it, what type of work that because social media is a part of my business, but I give myself time limits now, whereas I'm finding myself posting something and saying, okay, let's get off, but then now I'm like, oh, look what so-and-so is doing. And hey, and an hour has passed. Then it's going on to another hour. And so I've just learned, hey, take a break. It's okay to take a break. We're going to shift now. We're going to talk about trauma. Because certainly all of us that are human beings and a part of this human experience have experienced some levels of trauma or will experience some levels of trauma. As long as you are in this human flesh, life happens and it can affect you mentally and emotionally. So I want to talk about the different forms of trauma that women experience and how can these traumas impact our mental health. Dr. Lakeisha, I want you to answer this because certainly, we know your testimony of what you went through in 2018 and you're now on the other side of that, but that diagnosis is trauma. So how do we deal with trauma and what are some of the different types of trauma that women experience?
So definitely that was a very traumatic time. But by the grace, I was able to get through that, not in a traumatic way. However, the trauma of that still lives on. Every time I have to go to a doctor's appointment, every time I get a headache or, my back hurts in a certain way, it creates trauma still. So that is something that is an ongoing traumatic situation. Women deal with trauma when they go through menopause. People don't realize it, but they do. It's huge. It is huge. Just the mental capacity of realizing, hey, now I'm in a different place in my life. That is very traumatic. Women deal with trauma through sexual, verbal, physical abuse. Women deal with trauma in the workplace. We deal with trauma in our homes. We deal with trauma when we are struggling, and believe this or not, when we're struggling to lose weight with obesity, because it becomes a mental, it affects our mental, which becomes depression and anxiety. Once again, that whole comparing and I can't lose and stuff. We deal with traumas continual. We deal with it in the loss of a marriage, in the loss of a loved one. It's all around us.
Yes.
But it's how we deal with it. It's how we come through it that matters. Trauma is always going to be there, but it's how you deal with it is really what matters.
Wow. You listed so much and you're correct. We've got women that are watching that are probably facing some sort of trauma now, just with what you've listed. And it's so true about that losing weight.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even mention the financial piece because we know
Oh,
that's traumatic.
Yes.
That's like, whoo, very traumatic. But yeah, weight loss is very traumatic for women. And, we've had women commit suicide over these type things. So anything that causes you to mentally have a break and say, hey, I don't want to be here anymore, no matter what it is, it's traumatic.
go ahead. Who is that?
Me.
Come on, Tawana. Come
And
on.
I was going to say, sometimes we hear those categories and we think, oh, I haven't been through anything that severe. But sometimes betrayal can be very traumatic for women, because it
Yes.
affects relationships. Now it affects my
Mhm.
ability to trust in your marriages. Infidelity is traumatic.
Absolutely.
So in your
Mhm.
relationships, there's so many, a friend that's dishonest can cause trauma. So it's not always things that people say, oh, I haven't been through that.
Yeah.
There is something on parenting can be traumatic. Um, especially when you're dealing with grown kids. It could be traumatic. And it could be because you
Or
have
a
to,
child, listen, or a child with a disability.
yes,
That
ma'am.
Yes.
is, I'm traumatized every day
Yes,
dealing with my
ma'am.
daughter who has autism. Every day I'm traumatized. So,
Yes.
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 Good.
And I'm
That's good.
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but you
No,
hit it
no,
when you
it's
said that.
true. It's traumatic because you have the hopes of having a child that society considers normal. And then you have I have a niece that's 2 years old. And I hope my sister don't mind me sharing, who was born with Down syndrome. My sister had always been told she couldn't have a child. And at late in her 40s, got pregnant and was excited about the gift. And then she birthed a baby with Down syndrome. That doesn't mean you don't love the child.
Right.
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 It's just that it's a loss of what you envisioned for that child. And
Mhm.
so it could be traumatic making those decisions. So life is full of trauma.
And also women that, get married and find out that they can't
Can't
birth
have
children.
children.
Yes.
Mhm.
These
Yes.
are things that we don't talk about.
Nope.
Yes.
Got it.
And we
Absolutely.
just keep going
Mhm.
on with life and oh, it'll get better and it's no big deal. And and I'm just gonna keep moving and all of that. But you're not dealing with it. Like it's still in the back of your head. You know that I'm feeling what I'm feeling. I don't like what I'm feeling. But to keep just
Mhm.
sweeping it under the rug is not helping my life. It's not helping those around me because when you are not dealing with trauma, you're even doing a disservice to your loved ones because
Yes.
you're not
Mhm.
your real self. You're not your
Mhm.
authentic self. Would you agree, Lena? Would you
I,
agree with that?
this is a very good conversation, and so I want to make sure I don't just like But I'm like double dutch. I'm like, so when you guys are talking about trauma, one thing that stood out to me was loss. Whenever you experience trauma, there is a grieving process attached to it.
Yes.
And so there is a loss of what used to be and what is now. And you have to go through a grieving process when you experience trauma. And so, like you were saying, my expectations of my life is not what's happening. So I have to grieve what my goals and my aspirations were and what is my reality at this point. The other thing about trauma is that the enemy loves to use your trauma. He loves to take your trauma and make you think that you cannot overcome, that you can't heal, that you can't have what the promises of God, the promises that God has promised you. And
Yes.
one of the things that he loves to do with your trauma, he takes it and he takes that trauma, and then you start to develop negative cognitions. I'm not good enough. There's something wrong with me. I'm not pretty enough. I'm ugly. I'm useless. I'm this, I'm that. And you begin to take those negative cognitions and then you begin to act on them. So if I believe that whatever trauma happened to me and I start to develop a negative cognition about it, then I start to act on that negative cognition, which is the lie. it's never the truth of it. And you know, the enemy can't tell the truth. So
Never.
he's going to lie, and then you begin to walk in
Yeah.
that lie, and then you're deteriorated off of the course that God has said, no, that is not you. That is not who you are. And so trauma is a very big topic. And I just got through talking to a women's group about this. And one thing I left them with is that oftentimes we don't want to deal with our trauma because we say, my trauma made me who I am. If I didn't go through that, I wouldn't have been strong. If I didn't go through this, I wouldn't have been smart. I wouldn't have did this. And I said, that is a lie. That is a lie. You were already strong before your trauma. It just started to show after the trauma happened, but the trauma didn't make you strong. So go ahead and heal from your trauma and walk into who God says you are versus saying that I need my trauma. I'm holding on to it because that's what made me. Your trauma didn't make you. You were already that before God put you on this earth. And so that's one of the things that I had to let people know is that's oftentimes why we don't want to heal, because we feel like, no, because this happened to me, this is why I'm this, and we get puffed up about it. This is my badge of honor. No, your trauma is not your badge of honor. You don't need your trauma to be who God called you to be because it's already there. But I'm done. I'm gonna stop talking.
Yeah.
This is so good tonight.
Yeah. And then I'm sorry.
No,
And sometimes you'll see people that don't heal for trauma begin to establish trauma bonds with other people who are dealing with trauma. And so now you have this cohesive group of people who are connected by trauma instead of just healing so that they can move past the trauma, because now trauma becomes the focus of that group, just sharing of the stories. And like you said, creating these whole nother personalities and cycles related to that trauma. And they find fulfillment in the trauma bonds instead of fulfillment in the healing of the trauma.
Yes.
And this
because
goes
when
back. Come on, Dr. Lakeisha, come on.
No, I was just going to say, when you realize that there is this connection with the trauma, that means that now you have to face it. And a lot of people don't want to do the work. Doing the work is where you get healed. So it's easier to stay in your mess than to face it and say, hey, I want to be better. So we'll just continue to wallow in it and wallow in it, because now I have to be accountable. I have to be responsible to myself and to others.
Yes.
So
that's good. Yeah. And I like what you said about that, is that it's the fear of what does that look like on the other side?
Yes.
I'm so used to doing this and this. And then when I do it, even if it's toxic, I know what to expect from it. But you're saying that I can heal and I don't have to lean on this anymore. Right. What does that look like? And one of the disclaimers I give to a lot of my clients is that healing also produces a different space for you afterwards. And that means that the people you had trauma bonds with, you may outgrow them. If they want to stay there and you want to go forward, that you may, and then you start to say, well, who are my people now? So it's a whole space that can be traumatic for people. Healing can be traumatic for people, but healing is necessary. And when you really start to walk into who you are and you know who you are, and you can walk through that thing, then you will really know that healing was what God's plan was from the beginning.
And when we don't deal with trauma and become healed from it, then we begin to use it as a crutch. And so, like you said, Lena, we'll say, my trauma made me strong. Going back to that whole unrealistic, strong Black woman, because I believe that statement is connected to traumatic experiences that a lot of our foremothers and predecessors experience, and they'll say it made me strong without realizing that you were strong before the trauma happened. You were already strong before the abuse, before the betrayal, before the loss. You were already strong, so we don't have to use this as a crutch. But for some individuals, it's easy because they've been in it so long that that's a way of life for them. they don't know how to let it go and really be healed for real. Let's talk about grief, because like you stated, Lena, trauma is associated with losing something. So let's talk about grief. How does the experience of grief differ among women compared to our counterparts? How does the experience of grief differ among women? And how can we better understand and support one another through the grieving process? Dr. Lakeisha, I'll let you start off.
So I think with us, especially with African American women, we are not allowed to grieve properly. We're not allowed to have the time because we're strong women. We are, it seems as if we're taking advantage of that piece of just being a human being, just needing that time. Just let me grieve. So we have to once again normalize grieving and support our friends and our loved ones and tell them, hey, seek professional help if that's what you need. Take your time and grieve. It looks different for every person. We're going to do it in our own way, but find your way through it and allow them that. Respect it. Respect that place for them. Give them that, you know. Black women, we're just, I just feel like we are taken such advantage of on every level, with all things in life, and that includes grieving too. So
Respect it. I love that.
respect it.
Because sometimes we feel that there's a time limit on grief.
And there's not. There's not. My father passed in 2015, and I don't think I had a real cry until 2016, sometime later. And it was no rush on my part, but it just didn't happen. And that doesn't mean that I was done grieving. It just meant that my grief was taking longer, or it took a different turn. It didn't start right away. Who knows? But it was no rush to it. There was no time limit on when I can grieve, my father. Same thing with being a breast cancer survivor. The grief, it has hit me in different places. It didn't happen all at the same time because, for one, when I was first diagnosed, I heard God say that all sickness is not unto death. So I knew I would not die. I knew that it was a testimony behind it.
Yeah.
However, I still didn't grieve. I took off running. Let me go to chemo. Let me show the world how to do this, which was all God. I did what he said, but I still didn't find that place to grieve until one day it hit me. Gosh, you've just been through this traumatic event. Gosh, you could have died. Gosh, you're carrying this on it hit all at once. But I just allowed myself that time to grieve. I did what I needed to do, and I didn't put a time limit or a rush on it. And even here today, if I need to cry about it, I will cry about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember after my surgery, I was, at home recuperating. And like you said, Dr. Lakeisha, when you get the diagnosis and you know what the Lord tells you, but you still gotta, you still gotta work, you still gotta run a business, you still gotta do this, you still gotta do that. And so you're like in that survival mode. I got to still keep it going. But I'll never forget that after my surgery, I was, recovering, and it had been like maybe 3 or 4 days. And I still had bandages on and everything. And the doctor had already, instructed myself and my husband that, maybe by day 2, you can be okay to remove the bandages. Well, I knew that I wasn't ready mentally to remove the bandages. So by day 3, I think it was day 4, and I was like, okay, you can remove the bandages now. But mentally, I was not ready. And I'll never forget this. I don't even know if she's watching or not, but my mother-in-law texted me out of the blue. And this goes back to having that support system as women. My mother-in-law texted me out of the blue, and she said, and she had no idea what I was going through mentally. She said, when you're ready to do that, you're ready to do it. Until then, don't rush. And I looked at the text and I'm like, oh. And I just literally took a sigh and just exhaled And I was like,
Mhm.
thank you, God.
Yeah.
She had no idea that I was having levels of anxiety of
Mhm.
seeing myself
Mhm.
post surgery.
He'll give you what you need all
Yes,
the time.
yes.
I prolonged my surgery for 2 months because I knew I had to have a plastic surgeon in that room because I knew I couldn't leave the hospital flat. I
Mhm.
knew I needed a plastic surgeon there to make sure that I left with my expanders. That was mental for me. That would have been a breakdown for me. I was already in a traumatic situation, but that right there,
Yeah.
that was the bandage. I was like, I cannot. So I prolonged surgery for 2 months. I was like, God will keep me. He'll keep me.
Yeah, yeah.
So we do what we have to survive.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's so important. And I truly believe, ladies, if you're watching, put it in the comments that you're being blessed tonight. I know that you are, but I want you to put it in the comments that you're being blessed tonight. That even someone that is going through grief, a loss of a loved one, loss of a marriage, going through, you went through a physical affliction and you lost some things. Sometimes you can go through things physically and mentally that will affect loss of income.
Yes.
Mhm.
That's traumatic.
That's a big one.
And
That's a big
so
one. Yeah.
I truly believe that those that are watching are being helped. Lena, I want you to jump in and talk about, the grief. Talk about this. It can be a monster if you're not, equipped enough
Mhm.
with the right support system and equipped enough mentally and spiritually. Grief can be a monster. What is your wisdom on that?
I believe that everyone has their grieving process. My process may not look like your process. What you do may not look like what I do. You may cry. I may not cry. Just because you didn't cry didn't mean that it didn't affect you. You may
Come
experience
on.
it in different ways. Maybe you may be angry. It comes out in anger. Maybe yours come out in eating. Maybe mine's comes out in, exercising or whatever the case may be. But everybody's grieving process looks different. And that is okay. And like Dr. McGee said, I thought that was so profound, is that sometimes it doesn't hit you right away. Sometimes it may take some time, and that's okay too. One of the things that I say is one of the things I like to say is that we need to embrace it. Oftentimes we're trying to run from it so much because we feel like if we run, that keeps that shield up, we're protected. But sometimes if we just say, I'm going to embrace this scary, this silly, maybe this stupid, maybe this, just whatever words, adjective you can use, I'm going to embrace this situation, even though I don't like it. And I'm going to embrace it and I'm going to walk through it. And if you are a woman of faith or a man of faith, whoever's watching, knowing that God is walking you through this process too. He may not stop the storm, but he's walking with you through it. And that's one of the things we have to think about with grief. And even if we have questions, and sometimes we may question God, why did you allow this to happen to me out of all the people? Why did you take this person from me and they have their mother and they don't even like them? Or why did you do this to me? Why is my body this way? Whatever the case may be, we have questions. Go ahead and question God. And why I say that, because he already knows what you're thinking.
Yes.
So how about you go ahead and question him and let him meet you where you are and embrace this process of loss and grief. And I guarantee you, once you embrace it, it may not hit you as bad as you think it is. It may not hit you like that ton of bricks, and it may hit you, but be in the moment and take each step each day at a time. And when you want to stand, you stand. If you want to take a step, you want to take a step. If you want to go backwards a little bit, go ahead and go backwards a little second. But do what you need to do in your grieving process that is healthy. Let me put it like that. That's healthy.
Yes.
And I don't want you to say, Lena said I can do what I want to do,
Right.
and then I'm like, wait, no, that's not what I meant. But yeah.
Tawana,
Well, and let's normalize crying. Let's normalize that. Let's normalize that it is okay to shed those tears.
Yes.
That it's healthy. It's healthy to shed those tears, but let's normalize that for men and women, that it's okay to cry.
That's good.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Tawana, I'm going to let you close this out. And someone said, consider people who have lost their homes,
Yes.
fire, a natural tragedy, or even foreclosure because of lack of income, ability to pay your mortgage or rent. This is a part of grief.
Yes. Yes.
Or mothers who have lost children. No mother wants to bury their child. That's not what you signed up for, but life happens. So Tawana, I just want you to, to add to it and minister however you want. And then ladies, when those of you that are watching, we're going to take a couple questions. We're going to take a couple questions from the audience that our therapist can help you with. Couple questions, put it in the comments. We're not going to be able to take everybody's questions, but put a couple questions and we'll have our therapist to answer professionally. Tawana, what I want you to do is, when should we seek help outside of ourselves?
When the burden is too heavy to bear. I feel like there is something in life that can bring all of us to our knees. And when we get to that place, we know we need help outside of us. That doesn't mean that we lose our faith in God. That means we just need some additional support and help. I think a lot of times people think you have one or the other one. But I saw a t-shirt that says it's okay to have Jesus and a therapist too. Remember, you're unable to pour from an empty cup. But so many times we're so busy filling everyone else's that we put ourselves on the back burner and we don't pay attention to the signs nor the symptoms. Know yourself. You know if your behaviors have changed, if you don't want to get out of bed anymore, if your appetite has changed, if you're losing interest in things that you used to enjoy, if you're sad more than you're happy, if you're having thoughts of suicide or self-harm, if you're disconnected from everything that meant something to you, then it's time to seek some help and make peace with the fact that I may need some help. And God has put therapists in positions like he's put medical professions, dentists, your leaders, your employers. So why pick and choose those that can benefit us? Why not have the complete package of all of your needs met? There's no need to deny yourself help and suffer in silence when help is present. So seek it when you feel like you need someone outside of your friends. A lot of times we go to our friends first as women, but a lot of times your friends are dealing with their own experiences and trauma, and they can only advise you to their capacity. Sometimes they don't have the capacity to meet your need, and that's okay. There are people and professionals in place to help meet your need. So pray and ask God to show you what therapist to go to. How do I find the therapist? What am I looking for? And he will lead and guide you, but don't be afraid. Cast your fears down and ask for help. There's help available to you.
I believe you should have, of course, a relationship with God. You should have a pastor. That's someone that is watching over your soul spiritually. I believe you should have a life coach. I'm a life coach. I'm not a therapist. And I tell individuals that all the time. I am a life coach, not a therapist. I'm a pastor, not a therapist. But I believe you need a life coach. That's someone, an individual that will help you set goals, give you strategies to execute your goals, help bring clarity to your purpose and your identity. And then you need a therapist. That is someone that you can talk to in a safe environment that will, help you navigate what you're feeling, what you're experiencing. And you're literally covering every facet of your life.
Yeah.
Why do we have to live broken and fragmented when God has people in the earth that are here and designated to support one another?
That's right. Mhm.
We have that's, I mean, let's just be honest.
It's true.
All of this is from God.
Yeah.
It is. It is.
Therapy, it's from God. Go to the word of God.
Mhm.
Go to Proverbs. Oh my goodness. You see so many scriptures on therapy, and you be like, oh wow, that can be used for therapy. Seriously. It all comes from God. So
Yeah.
when we keep in mind that we don't have to live fragmented, we don't have to live broken, that God has everything that we need so that we can live an abundant life, then we can make those steps and take those necessary steps to become whole women. All right, we've got a couple questions on the floor. Someone says, what if you don't have a good support system? Anyone?
That's a good question. I hear a lot of people say that I do not have a good support system. And one of the things I like to say is, or one of the questions I would like to ask is, do you know how to accept support?
Mhm.
And again, because we're so used to having a badge of honor of the trauma and things like that, sometimes we don't realize that we are actually pushing our supports away. Or we don't know how to accept the support. So that will be the first question to ask. And the other thing is, if you do realize I do not have a good support system, you start to think about what can that person support me with. They may not be the complete package, but maybe this
That
person
could be
is
the
somebody I
start.
trust with my children, that if I need help or support, I can let them watch my children. Maybe this person is, they can't watch my children, they can't cook, they can't clean, but they can pray me through a good old prayer. Then you trust that person with that prayer, and you figure out, what can I trust these certain people with? And then you build your support system off of that. Sometimes, again, we're looking for that person who is an all-in-one, all-inclusive package. And unfortunately, because of the pandemic and things are going on, everybody can't be everything to you. But really just understanding that what is a good quality that person has that they can support me with, even if it's just one thing, two things, or three things. So that's what I would say to that question.
Amazing, amazing. Here's another question. Dr. Lakeisha, I'll have you answer this. Someone is asking, how do you help someone you see that is in trouble get help?
Oh, well, first thing is that person has to realize that they need the help. You
Correct.
cannot help someone if they are not in a place where they say, I'm ready for the help. They won't receive it. But once they say, yes, I'm ready, I mean, you can offer and offer strategies to help them get out of it, but that person has to be ready to receive the support. That's really the bottom line.
It's true.
Wow. Any other questions before we end? This has been so amazing, so refreshing. I hope those of you that have viewed have received. If we have anyone else that wants to ask a question before we end for tonight, listen, ladies, those of you that are watching, this is what the Wives Matter Network is all about. We're providing ongoing empowerment and mentorship for women so that we can have healthy, whole relationships,
Yes.
healthy marriages, healthy friendships, healthy relationships. And it starts with us. It
Yes.
starts with us being healed and whole and not being afraid to be healed, not being afraid to be whole, because sometimes our healing can intimidate people,
That's true.
especially when you have those, as Tawana talked about earlier, that have band together through trauma, that when we make up in our minds that we want to be free and we want to live on the other side of it, sometimes we'll just stay comfortable in that because we don't want to upset our friends. We don't want to upset the person I'm in love with. You know, I'll just rather be who I am, but we've got to be healed and whole. Okay, what happened to my guests? Let's bring our guests back on. Someone says, what? Oh, okay. So they're asking for contact information. So this is my advice for those of you that would like to get in contact with our therapist. Follow them on social media first. Follow them on social media. Tawana Trammell Dr. Lakeisha McGee, Lena Chapman. They're all on social media. They're all on Facebook. They're all on Instagram. I would suggest that you begin to follow them on social media. And if you feel that you would like to connect to them individually, as far as having a private session, that you would follow them on social media. I'm sure that their contact information is on social media, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So go to their page, find their contact information, whether it be through email or telephone, and that way you can connect with them, but begin to follow them on social media. Okay, last question. Someone says, how do I maintain a listening ear, but maintain healthy boundaries, especially with someone who refuses to seek a therapist?
Ooh, can I answer that one, please?
Yes.
So here's the thing about maintaining that listening ear. Make sure that ear is not overloading you. Sometimes we continue to take on other people's, we become the dumping ground. We're now the garbage can, they're dumping into us. So make sure that you're not taking that on. Secondly, make sure you remain honest with them. Don't just hear and say what they want. No, remain honest with them. You really need to seek some professional help. I'm your friend, I'm here for you, but I have to be honest and tell you that this is above your pay grade. You need some help.
I do that with, as a pastor, I tell people,
you need some help.
I can only help you so much. I think you really need to now seek help from a licensed, not somebody that you listen.
Okay.
Professional, got a degree. And oh man, okay, we gotta end. Church people, it's okay.
It's okay.
Long as I got King Jesus.
Okay.
It's okay.
Church leaders, you need to have therapists in your congregation. You need to collaborate with professional therapists. You need to collaborate with professional counselors. There are certain things that as church leaders that we cannot do. We can pray for them. We can prophesy, all of that. But then there is a time where they need continual help. And we are not licensed for that.
Yes.
We're not licensed for that. That is a part of deliverance. Therapy is a part of deliverance. So there's a time that as a pastor, you say, okay, I need to refer you to someone. And it's okay to do that. Would you not agree, Lena?
I agree 199.9,000%. Absolutely.
It's okay.
And can I say something to you, Pastor Hudson? Thank you for saying that. Because you would be surprised how many people I've heard comment that it's a demonic. Mental health is related to demons. And I say, is physical health related to that? If so, then why are you taking this medication for diabetes or high blood pressure? It's all health. So it is so refreshing to hear a pastor say that it's so important for leaders to support mental health. Thank you for that.
I remember, years ago when my husband, this was shortly after him and I got married, and he told me, he said, at the time when women wanted to begin to talk to me, because for years he was a single pastor. So he would give spiritual advice to anyone that wanted it. But he said that now that, I got my good thing, you can talk to the women now. But he would always tell me, he said, when it becomes to a point where you cannot help them as a spiritual leader, then you must let them know that they need to seek professional help. And so we've always had collaborations with counseling agencies. We've always had collaboration with licensed therapists. This was, I'm talking about years ago now. Of course, it's more open and we're talking about it more. And more churches are open to it now where they're, providing those type of resources. But I'm talking about, 20 years ago where we had a licensed therapist that we would, refer individuals to. And it's okay.
It's okay.
It's quite all right. I hope everyone has enjoyed this conversation. I want to say thank you again to our amazing, beautiful panelists, Tawana Trammell, Lena Chapman, Dr. Lakeisha McGee. Oh, they were simply amazing. And I reached out to all of these women. I don't know any of them, never broke bread with them, none of that.
Now we got to do lunch.
And they agreed and say, yes, I want to be a part of the conversation. So I want to say thank you, ladies. Thank you so much for taking time out of your Monday evening schedule to help, again, talk about this topic. I think we need to continue to change the narrative regarding mental health, therapy, when it's okay to say, I'm not okay. When it's okay to say, I'm not okay. Thank you all so much for your wisdom and your expertise. I'm excited that Dr. Lakeisha is going to be with me in Los Angeles, November the 10th, the 11th.
I'm excited.
One of our featured speakers for the Future Awaits You Vision Summit in Beverly Hills, California. If you guys enjoyed her tonight, just you wait and see. We're going to be talking about more of this in California. I want you all to continue to register. Registration will be cutting off very soon. So don't wait till the last minute. Book your ticket. Come out to Los Angeles. It's going to be a weekend of refreshing, a weekend of impartation, a weekend to just get away, enjoy warmer weather, network, and connect with women from around the world. And I'm so grateful that Dr. Lakeisha is going to be a part of our summit. If you want to join the Wives Matter Network, it is one of the largest growing networks for wives, aspiring wives, wives to be, single women, divorced, single, remarried, whatever it is. Our agenda is to empower you for healthy relationships and healthy marriages. Go ahead and join us today at www.wivesmatternetwork.com. This has been brought to you by the Wives Matter Network. I hope you were blessed. I hope you received on tonight. Continue to reshare and repost. Someone needs to hear this conversation. And so for some of you all, you need to replay this. Replay this. There were some things that probably really ministered to you. And for those of you that have been on the fence about, I need some help, and you have not just had the courage to take the necessary steps, I hope tonight's discussion propelled you to say, yeah, it's okay. It's okay to want to get help because I want to be whole. Jesus said that he came to give us life and that more abundantly. It's been wonderful, ladies. We'll see you back here in just a few more weeks. We've got a great topic that we're going to be dropping real soon. Again, join the Wives Matter Network today at wivesmatternetwork.com. Have a fabulous week. We'll see you guys real soon.